In community through business, building relationships, and building Waterloo Region. 570 News proudly presents Business to Business. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Business to Business on 570 News, powered by Allstream. And once again, we are joined by the host of the program, ladies and gentlemen. Ian McLean is the president of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. Give it up for Ian.
Good afternoon. Yay.
And did I just say give it up for? Oh my God, I can't believe that.
You must have been at the Justin Bieber concert.
Give it up for, you know. He's all about business. And please give it up. I just did it again. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg DeRocher, he is the president of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Or good afternoon.
Well, what the heck? You were in Winnipeg a couple of months ago. It's still morning there, so Christmas is about 3 weeks away, the holiday shopping season, Christmas and Hanukkah.
Have you started yet?
No. You know what? I've become my great Aunt Mary. She gave books to everybody at Christmas.
Oh, cool.
So that basically,
great gift.
I go to a bookstore and just pivot around and buy for everybody. Now, I used to make the rounds of all the different stores, not the malls as much, but all the different
little shops
and boutiques. I used to shop for years in the late 80s. I made it a point to spend a couple of days when I had some time off and make a complete experience of it and go to Stratford and Elora.
Oh yes,
because
cool.
the way they kind of do things there.
Yeah, and you get in the spirit.
Yeah, exactly. There's a deliberate sort of faux old-fashionedness.
I like to get in the spirit on December 24th.
Leave yourself lots of time, eh, Greg?
Yeah. I remember one Christmas I did just that. I went to Towers in Toronto. Yeah. Christmas Eve. It was. I wasn't in the best of moods.
You're cheap.
Christmas
you went
Eve.
To Towers.
81. I lived at Queen and Carlisle in Toronto, and I just wasn't in the mood at all, and rushed out on Christmas Eve.
Now, did that get you in the mood?
No.
When you see all these guys rushing around because it's the last
it's depressing.
minute.
I'll never do it again.
No?
Never. No, it was very depressing.
I always find that it really gets me in the mood. It really gets me excited because
Christmas Eve last minute. The pressure,
I think it's exciting. It's the stores are packed and.
Oh, I'm with you.
Hate that.
Christmas Eve is sacred.
I do mine now. I go out when the malls start staying open really late, and down or uptown Waterloo where I do some of the shops. But I go out at like 10 o'clock at night and go from 10 to 12 because there's no one out, nice and relaxed.
No, I started off by mentioning Stratford and Elora. Now, I live downtown in the downtown area, and you can get that experience now. You get that, that song, people walking, people talk. What is that? People walking, people. Downtown Kitchener, and uptown Waterloo, and Galt Cambridge. Some of the stuff they've done, the changes they've made to Galt Cambridge, they're really capitalizing.
I think all the BIAs really have
they've done a great job
on that experience that Greg talked about.
So the theme of the show, guys, is
you have to look at what their competition is. Their competition's not only all the online shopping, but it's also the malls, right? Yeah. Free parking, 8,500 stores under one roof. Boy, it's tough.
They all have their challenges, though, so we're going to hear about that.
Oh, they do,
today.
yeah, and that's the good thing.
The malls have made changes, too. If you look at Conestoga and the changes they've made over the last, 2 years ago, they renovated that, and it's a great. We're very lucky. Yep. If you want to buy retail, you do not need to go south of the border.
Tons of variety.
And this Black Friday madness, which I'm glad to see the local BIAs capitalizing on. There's no need to drive to Buffalo to buy stuff. Exactly. You're going to waste your time and your money on gas.
Absolutely.
And so Black Friday was a big day locally.
Yeah.
So the theme of the show, guys, is retail, and how important is retail?
Absolutely the key driver. 80% of our economy is driven by the consumer. That's all about retail.
Yeah. Well, let's kick it off. You want to go to our first guest?
Yeah, okay. For sure.
Go ahead, guys.
Carrie LaRue, how are you? Carrie LaRue's from the Canadian Tire Store on Pine Bush in Cambridge. Actually, the largest Canadian Tire store on the planet. Of course, that'd be Canada. And Carrie, how are you today?
Very well, Greg. Yourself?
I'm wonderful on this doomy, gloomy day, but I'm sure your store is going to be bustling by right now probably.
I certainly hope so. It is pretty busy in the store. People are after wiper blades and windshield washer fluid.
Now, did I just hear you say tell us about the size of this thing?
Yeah, Kerry, why don't you tell us about your store?
It's the largest Canadian Tire store in the country?
Yes.
I believe it is. It's about 130,000 square feet total square footage. About just over 80,000 at retail level. She's a big box.
Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff.
Yeah, we carry not only what Canadian Tire supplies us, but we go outside of and get authorization to carry many other little kinds of gadgets and things that customers come in and look for, and kind of separate us from the other stores in the area.
Now, it's interesting, Kerry, you and I had a conversation this week with our Chamber Young Professionals, but this year the outlook for a pre- and post-holiday shopping season, we should see a year-over-year growth of about 3.6%. That's what the experts are telling us. Now, I know it's relatively early in the season to be starting to count our chickens, but have you been experiencing this trend so far?
Well, I hate to sound like a politician, Greg, but the answer is maybe. Western Canada, the Maritimes, and northern Quebec have had some really good snowfall days, contributing to really stronger sales out there. They're up around 7%. However, in Ontario, especially southern Ontario, with little snow, sales are flat. But I remain optimistic, although when I look outside today, that weather, I wonder if the weather experts are right saying that this year we'll see a normal winter. The question is, when will it arrive, pre or post Christmas?
I just we're on the subject of Canadian Tire with our guest, and I want to point out, because we always have this thing about history, as you know. Canadian Tire's origins. This is the 90th anniversary. It was 90 years ago that it was founded by John,
not by Kerry.
John Billis and John and Alfred Billis. And did you know this, gentlemen? It is the largest retailer in the country, and it is said that 90% of all Canadians live within a 15-minute drive of a Canadian Tire store.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Wow.
So I just want to go back to the weather part. I mean, is weather plays a huge component to retail, both at Christmas time, but all through the year?
Yes, it does. We are driven by weather. Weather is what drives shoppers into our store. Weather is what, in the wintertime, weather keeps shoppers in our towns, because if it's severe weather, they won't travel. I heard you talk about cross-border shopping at the top of the show. The best thing to fight cross-border shopping is severe weather.
Yeah, you're right.
So we pray for it.
You pray for it from two reasons: to stop them from going down across the border, but the other thing is to come in and buy snow shovels and snow blowers.
$2 a liter gas would help too.
Well, yeah, $2 a liter gas would. Kerry, what about online shopping? Now, we heard Cyber Monday the other day. I was listening actually to 570 News, and there was a report on there. Yes, you're welcome.
Appreciate that.
There was a report on there that it was huge. It was like 26% of the accumulative total of retail sales between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Like, that's enormous. How is that affecting you as a retailer?
Well, Cyber Monday, you're right. I think the number I heard is up like 24% over 2011. Online shopping makes up only about 10% of the total, though, in Canada. So it's made to look a little bit bigger than it is. However, Canadian consumers are adopting and becoming more comfortable with the trend. If you're a Canadian bricks and mortar retailer, it's important to be working at establishing an online offering for our consumers, especially the web savvy youth. They will help online shopping and cyber shopping. They will help that to grow annually. Will it create more revenue for retailers? I don't think so. It'll just divide up the pie differently. But it's as we look forward, bricks and mortar stores have to be part of that.
What's Canadian Tire doing to combat that?
We're working on that right now for next year. We'll see a launch next year, spring. I know that the new American retailer coming to Canada, they'll probably have it in place when they start opening up their boxes. So I know Canadian Tire is working hard on it right now at head office.
Wow.
So is that something that you do as in conjunction with the national office, or do you have your own spin on the website or on your own online offerings? Is that something you do together?
No, that's something we do together. That's all controlled by Canadian Tire. They'll establish it going forward, and we will help fulfill the promises that they make on online shopping in terms of ordering it online, picking it up locally, or having it shipped out locally.
We're in discussion with Kerry LaRue. He's the dealer owner of the Canadian Tire on Pine Bush in Cambridge. It is the largest Canadian Tire store in the world at 130,000 square feet, roughly.
Well, just one final question, Kerry. What's the trends that you're seeing in your retail? We're going to be talking to some folks from some of the malls and from the Cambridge BIA, but what are the trends that you're seeing in terms of what people are gravitating to in terms of gifts for the holiday season?
Well, we've with us losing Cambridge losing Zellers recently closing down, we're seeing a real surge in toys for young kids at our store right now. I think Zellers closing has a lot to do with that. We actually picked up our inventory by about 35% on toys. Christmas decor remains really big. They're really in buying the Christmas decor, especially the new icicle lights that are out. Customers can't get enough of those, and those are the two big trends: are the toys for the young kids, like the Singing Bernie and the Elmo dolls. Those are big ones, and
that's what Glenn wants.
I can.
He put it on his list this morning, but we said we didn't know where to get it.
I'm flashing back to my first daughter. Oh, the sound of Barney in the morning.
And as far as appliances goes, it's all the the NutriBullets, all the young gadgets that are coming out in the appliance world now with the different colors. That's where I see people gravitating.
Hey, Kerry, are you guys still selling tires?
Yeah. Big time. Tires are really big. We're booked up to Wednesday on tires right now. With a little bit of snowfall or a little bit of ice that we saw on Friday, it was a real windfall at the store. We are just scrambling to stay on top of the tire business right now.
Kerry, experience is what it's all about. A lot of stores put a lot of effort, and a lot of malls and downtowns, they put a lot of effort into making that Christmas experience for shoppers. What are you doing at your store to to bring that Christmas experience for shoppers?
Well, the staff have really gone out of their way this year to make the creative displays in the store. Right from we have a full-size Santa house inside the store in the seasonal department, and it's got a working chimney and everything. And Santa visits us on Saturdays and Sundays, 11 to 4. We urge parents to bring their camera because we don't charge for pictures. We let parents take pictures with their own cameras. And there's no charge for that. And we also welcome pets to come and sit on Santa's knee, too. So for December also, those big items that are hard and awkward, like ping-pong tables and treadmills, anything over $200, we'll make sure that we get it to your door at no charge as well. We'll deliver it for you.
You still sell the fishing and hunting?
Delivery, and Solomon the Wonder Dog gets to sit on Santa's knee. I mean, why wouldn't you come down to the store?
Yeah, really.
All right. Merci, Kerry LaRue.
You're welcome.
Kerry LaRue is the dealer owner of the Canadian Tire on Pine Bush Road in Cambridge. It has the distinction, Greg. I want you to reiterate this again. How big is this thing?
This is it's 130,000 square feet, 80,000 square feet of retail space. It's the largest Canadian Tire store we know of. Kerry LaRue is an interesting guy. Do you know that Kerry LaRue actually has climbed to base camp at Everest?
No.
In a fundraiser for...
I did not know that.
Yes, he did.
Good for him.
He's an amazing guy. He presented to our CYP last week some of the challenges that he experienced just in getting to base camp, which is still at an elevation where the air is incredibly thin, very difficult to breathe. In fact, he had to actually be brought down by helicopter and taken into the hospital because of some complications that he ran into. But incredible, actually.
Wow.
Well, it was great talking to Kerry, and we're going to come back with more. As retail is the theme of this afternoon show. You are listening to Business, powered by Allstream on 570 News.
Business to Business, powered by Allstream, a presentation of 570 News. Watch the live video webcast at 570news.com. We'll return with more Business to Business. Not just what you know, it's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News. Powered by Allstream. All local, all relevant. Allstream.com. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
Welcome back to Business on 570 News, powered by Allstream. We're in the holiday season, and retail, so very important to the economy. Retail sales are an important economic indicator because consumer spending drives much of our economy. If you think of all the people and all the companies involved in making, in distributing, in selling the goods we use on a daily basis, like food, like clothing, fuel, and so on, when we open our pocketbooks, the economy tends to hum along. Retail shelves empty, and orders are placed for more merchandise. Plants make more widgets and order raw materials for even more. But if we feel uncertain about our financial future and decide to maybe hold off buying new fridges or jeans or whatever, the economy slows down.
Critically important.
Very important. That's why we continue the discussion about tax cuts to give the economy a boost that people will spend by putting cash in consumers' hands. The governments at all levels hope to spend their way out of recession.
And you know why
so we've got to, shop till you drop actually is, it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where Black Friday came from. Black Friday is kind of the unofficial day when retailers go from red to black. So, in reality, if you look at Black Friday and when it comes, the Friday after Thanksgiving in the United States, they really only have that period of time from then until December 31st.
That's when
they
really
make their hay.
Yeah.
What do you hear from your members about the importance of retail? Well, we talk a lot about manufacturing, but what do you hear about regarding retail?
Most of our members are doing is a business to business. I mean, they're selling their own products or services, and a lot of those are retail. Yeah. So when you think about all the business needs that you have, whether it's printing or signs, or all of the technology, it all is a consumer. But it's business to business consumer, and so it's huge. It's huge. It's huge for our members internally. But this time of year, this type of retail, this is what drives you, because it does, as you point out, it drives, it spins the wheel.
Well, it fills the pockets of the community. You think of all the people that depend on their jobs, and even the part-time jobs. The students coming back from school now because they're in Christmas break, they all get part-time jobs. It fills the pockets of the community as well.
Well, in Canada's centennial year, shoppers in Kitchener were brought into the 20th century with the arrival of something called a shopping mall, and it was an instant success. It's grown by leaps and bounds over the years. It has been added on to and renovated and contemporized. It was the first superstore, the first super mall in Waterloo Region, Fairview Park Mall. And on that note, we welcome our next guest.
Yeah, we're joined by General Manager Scott Baird, who is a General Manager at Fairview Park Mall, and actually up until recently was also General Manager at Lime Ridge Mall in Burlington. So welcome, Scott.
Welcome. I am welcome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, and I guess the first to start, because you're now at Fairview full time again, but had the connection with Lime Ridge. Why don't you just give us a comparison about the two marketplaces and what would be different from Kitchener to Burlington?
Well, I think when you look at the Greater Hamilton market, I think it's interesting. I heard you fellows talking about Black Friday, and in the Hamilton market, the proximity to the U.S. border is probably 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. Here, it's a little further away, and that's a big difference. And of course, with the dollar pretty close to par, folks aren't too concerned about gas prices anymore, and they will go across the border to get deals. And that's a difference in the markets. Lime Ridge is slightly larger than Fairview Park, and both centers, however, are dominant in their respective marketplaces. Lime Ridge in Hamilton, and of course Fairview Park in Waterloo Region. Interesting you say about Black Friday, and this was the first year that we as a corporation, Cadillac Fairview, really tackled Black Friday in order to keep the dollars within Canada. And that was November 23rd, and I've got to tell you, the results were astounding in all the properties that participated in Black Friday. And we were quite excited, and I can certainly see us doing the same thing again next year, larger momentum.
So what were some of the specific things you did? Was it just promoting, or were there special deals that you partnered with your retailers with?
Our retailers really jumped on board, and there were some significant deals. 50% off, 40% off, deals specifically geared to Black Friday to launch into the Christmas selling season. So, like I said, we were extremely pleased with the results, and our retail clients were pleased as well. And the interesting thing about it is, in both Hamilton and Waterloo region, we've got some U.S. retail clients, Hollister, Banana Republic, Sephora, who, we want to give the opportunity for them to generate and conduct business in Canada, similar to what they do in the U.S. So it certainly was an excellent day. We were quite excited.
Scott, online shopping is becoming more and more popular. Now, we just had Kerry LaRue on from the Canadian Tire in Pine Bush and Cambridge, and, he talked about the statistics saying it's approximately 10% of the overall retail market. But, we do know that it is growing. People are becoming more and more confident with spending money online. What is your retail sector, the mall sector, doing to combat this?
Well, I think you're correct. I mean, the online component becomes a bigger component. I think, however, a lot of the online, particularly when you look at the fashion, hard goods are a little bit different in terms of the online piece. But in terms of fashion, you really want to see the colors. You want to try on the garments, the fashion component. A lot of folks are looking at online in terms of probably comparison pricing, looking at the garments, but bricks and mortar, I think, is still where it's at and will continue to be.
You bring up a good point about that because, I've talked to a lot of people who have done online shopping and are a little bit disappointed at what they get in the mail when it comes. And, it's not quite what they saw online or what they thought they saw online. And there's that disappointment factor, and people still like to touch and feel.
Exactly. And, I mean, if you look at our traffic patterns in the shopping center in both Lime Ridge and Fairview Park over previous years, I mean, our traffic is still very strong. We're showing increases over previous years. So people like to still shop, and as you folks said earlier, shop till you drop. Being in retail, I love that saying.
Now, Scott, we were talking to Kerry, and I guess I should have known this, but weather plays a huge part, at least in his business. And I would presume it does with the malls as well. So what are the trends you like to see in terms of the weather and to increase traffic and grow your business?
Well, I think when you look at the snowflakes that we had late last week, I think that sort of stimulates people into. And I heard you talking about snow tires, and that was a big thing because I know just as an aside, one of my daughters, her boyfriend called me and said, "Do you know where I can get my snow tires on quickly?" And I said, "Absolutely not. I mean, if you're trying to get an appointment now, forget it." And a good friend of mine owns a tire store, and I said, "Well, why don't you call Kevin?" And he called Kevin, and Kevin said, "I'm sorry, lad, I can't take you till probably the third week of December." So,
Wow.
When you look at the snow piece. The other thing it's going to stimulate for snow, it's going to get people in the festive spirit,
yeah.
But it's also going to help our footwear retailers.
Yeah.
I mean, the boot business, and that's going to stimulate the boot business, and I think
that has spin-offs as well.
Just getting people in the spirit, I think the weather has a fact. It does play a role.
We're in discussion with Scott Baird. He is the general manager of Fairview Park Mall in Kitchener.
Scott, what malls do fantastic is they create that experience for the shopper. And what's Fairview Park doing to create that experience for the shopper to encourage them to either spend more or to spend more time in the mall?
Well, we've got a lot happening over the holidays. I mean, it's we've got visits. Of course, Santa's here Monday through Sunday. You can get photos taken with Santa. We've got a holiday fashion display in front of our guest services center, just near Pandora. It's a great place to be inspired, so that our shopping clients have some opportunity to see what sort of fashions and merchandise is being featured for holiday 2012. Of course, I got to plug Rogers Radio Group. We've got the Chime Tree of Hope happening again this year, as before. On
this
Thursday.
Was not a setup, just so you know this.
No, of course it's not a setup.
No. Well, this has been a tradition for many years.
Thursday, December
now.
the 6th.
Yeah.
Right.
And the community
from here.
The community supports it.
Absolutely.
wholeheartedly every year, and it's very touching, actually.
And also
The
for you
support.
folks, again, plugging 570 News and Kicks 106.7. We've got our Santa Toy Drive with the Salvation Army, encouraging folks to drop off a new unwrapped toy in support of the Secret Santa Toy Drive, located near Bombay and Kodo. And we want to make sure every child has a present under the tree to open on Christmas morning.
What a great way to leave it. Scott, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
My pleasure.
That's Scott Baird, General Manager of Fairview Park Mall. You're listening to Business, powered by Allstream on 570 News.
We'll be right back with more Business to Business, powered by Allstream. Call in with your questions at star 570 570 2545 or 1-800-570-5715. What you know. It's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News. Powered by Allstream. All local, all relevant. Allstream.com. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
Joined as always on Business to Business by Greg DeRocher. He is the president of the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, and Ian McLean, president of the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber of Commerce. And the theme of this afternoon's program is the retail sector and its importance to the local economy. It goes without saying that consumer spending is really at the core of our modern economy.
Well, people have to, we depend on them to do that. Obviously, the retail sector is critically important this time of year. This is when they really need people to dig deep. And obviously, we're not telling people to go into massive amounts of debt just to do that. But, we certainly want people to be mindful of the fact that this time of year is really, really important to the retail sector in our communities that provide the jobs for 12 months of the year.
Yeah.
And,
do you guys, in your roles as presidents of your respective chambers, do you have any dealings at all with the Retail Council of Canada? Do you communicate with them at all, or?
Not directly at our level, but the Ontario Chamber and the Canadian Chamber have dialogues with more of those umbrella organizations. But our many of our own retailers would have positions or deal with that organization more directly. So that's where we get some of our feedback is directly from our own members about what the Retail Council.
I think the Canadian Chamber is really involved with them and making sure that there's harmonized business policy that goes forward, and they support. Obviously, some of the concerns of the Retail Council of Canada, because it's all about business, and that's what the chambers are all about.
Yeah. We would talk to today. We've had a big box retailer. We just talked to Scott Baird from Fairview Park. But downtown business associations are hugely important, and you talked off the top about your experience in some of the smaller downtowns, whether it's Cambridge or Elora, Stratford. I served when I was on City Council for almost 8 years on the Uptown BIA in Uptown Waterloo. So, I know we're going to be joined by the executive director from the Cambridge BIA, so I'll be interested in specifically what they're doing. But this was always the time of year when a lot of the money that in the BIA's budget was spent, and it was on promotion. It was getting people down into the uptown core. And as you talked about, it was about the experience. So things like sleigh rides and having carolers and all of those things that makes that experience.
I would think that, and with the whole idea of, not the idea of it, because we're seeing it already happening with the urban renewal that is taking place in the Tri-Cities. I think that what was once perceived as a death threat to the uptown and downtown merchants, i.e. the malls.
Yep.
When they first came on in like gangbusters in the late 70s and throughout the 80s, the malls were. Some cynics suggested it would be the death knell for older downtown merchants. Now they're living. They're living cooperatively. There's one experience. If you want the downtown shopping experience, that now is thriving. If you want to go to the malls, which we all know what a great job they do for one-stop shopping,
you're absolutely
you've got
that. These are, I think, they're two different worlds, and there's two different things you get. When you go downtown, absolutely. You've got some of the finer dining, you've got higher end retailers or niche retailers. You've got like Uptown Waterloo. I just think of Frank's Jewelry. There's jewelers, but there's old established companies that have been there. Some of the fine dining and the new places that you see, which are unique. And by and large, most of them are not the chains, and that's what you find in the malls. Is you've got the chains that are supported by national, broader national, strategies and advertising. And what generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, you're
Locally
downtown,
owned.
you're locally owned, and it's a small business person, and that's why they gravitate to things and use the use of a BIA to say the marketing and beautification is really the primary focus.
Have you ever been to Erie, Pennsylvania?
No.
I was with Don Cameron and the Rangers not too long ago on a road trip, and we decided to go for a little stroll through downtown Erie. Downtown Erie is a complete wasteland of vacant shops. The malls are doing extremely well, but the downtown is a ghost town.
Yeah. And I think city councils and the BIAs in Cambridge, Kitchener, and Waterloo all deserve some credit for having really said that, you don't have to go any further than Brantford or some of the other communities that have had a real hard time with their downtown to know how what a detrimental effect it has on your local economy. So we put a lot of time and effort into the uptown cores.
It's pretty key that communities invest in their downtown cores. You don't want that part of your community dead. That's for sure, because that's where the problems really start at the core of the community. I'll tell you a little tidbit, though. When I was on the BIA in Preston Town Center.
Is this when you were on council as well?
Prior to me being on council, I was actually the chair of the Preston Town Center Business Improvement Association, and we hired none other than John Malloy as a town crier to come.
Really?
Yeah. Was the best. And I'm sure if John...
I can see Eugene Whalen maybe, but John Malloy...
If John's listening right now, I'm sure he's going to get all kinds of calls from the BIAs to be hired this Christmas to come down and be...
Well, you know what?
Wait a minute, how long ago was this? Was he a kid or like a young student or something?
Myself, but it was probably in the 80s, late 80s.
Okay.
You know what? It's really sad that
so John was
the best job he ever had was as a town crier.
And you know what
does he do now? He's got some... he's minister of everything in the...
And let me tell you something, he was a great town crier.
No kidding.
You think of John.
He's a big, tall
picture
guy,
him in your
voice,
mind with the outfit on.
Well, he definitely would look the part. For
Absolutely
sure.
perfect.
He's a class act for sure. But yeah. So he would be early 20s, I think, at that point.
Yeah. But I recall those times, and of course Ian alluded to it too. But a lot of our monthly meetings were centered around what can we build in the core area to attract people to come.
Yeah.
And, I remember being involved with a study years ago in the city of Cambridge, and that was probably when I was on council. But there was a consultant hired, and he talked about the fact that we had to build the entertainment value around the experience and coming into the core. And, I kind of questioned him on that. What are you talking about, entertainment value? He says, well, to paint the picture clearly, Greg, think of it as having a great big Ferris wheel in the downtown core. I'm not suggesting get a Ferris wheel, but that's what you have to do, is you have to create an experience of entertainment where people will bring their families down and they'll do their shopping at the same time.
Well, and I, just so everyone understands what a BIA is, basically it's mandated by the province, and it's a geographical area designated by some roads. So it's a very confined part of your downtown core, and they assess a levy on those, a mandatory levy. And then there's a board elected from amongst the businesses themselves, and their primary mandate, almost exclusively, is beautification and marketing for that specific area. And it was put in place and is put in place because the province as well as municipalities know how important it is to have a functioning down core. And you've alluded to it, that some like Erie, that's a wasteland, others that have gone through real tough time. But I think it bears understanding. When I first ran for city council in 1997, it wasn't successful, but 1997 there were a lot of closed shops on King Street in Waterloo. And when you look at it today and say, King Street, it's amazing. But boy, there was a lot. It was tough times there. And so everything from facade improvement to marketing and the experiences. And yes, we're talking about Christmas now and drawing people there because this is the busiest time. But that's why you have things like the downtown jazz festival in Kitchener, or the country festival in Uptown Waterloo, and I know there's events in Cambridge. Christmas in Cambridge, because all through the year you have to draw people down, because it is about that experience of saying, oh boy, we're going to go downtown Kitchener and go skating at
people still want to go. Let's go downtown.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they want to be outdoors. They want to experience that.
Well, and this is in Uptown Waterloo, which I'm most familiar with, but that's why we put the public square where we did and said put it right on King Street. It was really controversial because it involved parking, but that public square now gets a tremendous amount of use, and it draws people down. And I think retailers, there can be some inconvenience when you have things like Oktoberfest and the streets closed for some period, but it gets people coming down and saying, I may come back and go to that little jewelry shop there, that little fashion store that is independently owned. And I think that's what happens is you really have to work hard all through the year of capturing people's imagination.
The options are so varying. I remember when I was a kid, my mother, that's what was available was the downtown. And, Saturday afternoons, it was pretty much a tradition that my mother was going to go down and do her shopping in the downtown core. And, we had the Capitol Theater back then, and me and a bunch of friends, she'd give me a couple bucks, and off to the movie we would go for the afternoon matinee while she did her shopping. And, I think it was, at that time, the cores were vibrant, and they were vibrant because that's all that was available. Now, all of a sudden, things change. You park in one spot, it's pretty convenient, and you walk into this great big building with all kinds of options. But, the experience, I think, still, and we all three of us have said we do it and like to do it, is that downtown, that small little niche shop that has just that special something that maybe you can't get.
There's something romantic, too, small R romantic. When you look at some old photographs, those old photographs from the 30s and 40s of people in downtown Kitchener and Waterloo, the streets were jammed with shoppers. There were merchants just stacked one upon the other. Classic names that go back generations in the city. And it harkens back to, I don't know, maybe a simpler time is not the right term, but the notion that it was a magical sort of experience. Well, that movie, A Christmas Story? Yeah. That captures that, I think, best. I was in the city, the downtown shopping experience over the holidays.
Well, I was in City Hall on Friday, actually. This is a separate show to talk about development charges bylaw, which is that'll put everyone to sleep if I even say any more about that. But I happened to run into Patty Brooks, who's the executive director of the Uptown BIA, and so we were talking a little bit. I said we're going to do this show, and I think we've. Unfortunately, the lady from Cambridge might be ill today,
but must have had a little complex issue.
But in my discussions with Patty, I said, what are some of those trends? So the questions that we've asked, what are the things, and whether it's interesting. I would have assumed more from her. They like to see the snow as well, but it's more about the experience because they do have, like in Uptown, they have sleigh or a horse-drawn carriage, and they go through Waterloo Park on the Wonders of Winter light show. And so they do that. So they actually pull people right through the entire core. And many of those, we've talked about this already. Many of the retailers in the BIA are independent retailers. So they're fighting that same online issue about saying they have to. They're doing it on their own, but they're doing it on their own independent website and using social media and using their BIA to sort of spread that message out. So it's interesting, those common themes in different ways for a big box retailer, a mall, and those downtown or uptown BIA businesses.
Bottom line is get out and shop, support your local retailers, be they in the malls or be they in the downtown or in the uptown. Get out there and support your local retailers over the holiday season. We're coming back with more as Business to Business continues. This segment of Business to Business is brought to you by Save on Energy, offered by your local electrical utilities.
Business to Business, powered by Allstream. A presentation of 570 News. Watch the live video webcast at 570news.com. We'll return with more Business to Business. It's not just what you know, it's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News. Powered by Allstream. All local, all relevant. Allstream.com. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
Welcome back to Business on 570 News. Powered by Allstream. This segment of Business to Business is brought to you by Save on Energy, offered by your local electric utilities, and Allstream is one of our great sponsors. Greg, now in conversation earlier this week with Mark Ibbotson, Director of Segment and Vertical Marketing with Allstream.
Mark, it's Greg DeRocher from the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for joining us on the Allstream segment for Business to Business. And it's great to have you here, of course, bringing us all the information that we can pass on to our business members. Tell me something, Mark. What are some of the challenges that businesses are facing today, and are they changing?
Yeah, it's a great question, Greg, and thanks for having me today. It's something we've put a lot of thought into, looking at our customers and, the challenging trends. And really, we're starting to see a significant change in the technology requirements as adding a complexity in our customers' IT environment. We've seen some recent studies. Microsoft recently did a study that shows the average employee is using 6+ communication tools to communicate in their job on a daily basis. Things like email, instant messaging, video, obviously their phone, smartphone, tablet. And this is creating a major challenge for the IT department on how to deal with this. On top of that, Cisco is predicting in the next 3 years, global internet traffic is going to quadruple, and companies are panicking on how to keep up with that pace and making sure their connectivity is meeting the requirements of the business. The thing that we found most interesting, there was a study recently by IDC that showed that IT executives had admitted that the technology initiatives that they're deploying in their business, they're struggling to find ways to measure organizational productivity against that, something they're now being held to as a standard. And ultimately, something that's been around for a long time is how are they managing costs, cutting costs out of the business to be more efficient. And when you think of those, these are things that our customers are dealing with on a daily basis. And in fact, we feel it's a competing objectives for our businesses, our customers to be dealing with. What I mean by that is they're being asked to improve the performance and reliability of the infrastructure of their business, and now they're being measured against organizational productivity. How is the technology they're installing driving and improving productivity?
So I mean, there's lots of players in the marketplace. How does Allstream differentiate itself in the marketplace, and how are you helping IT departments achieve their IT and business goals?
Yeah, great question. And really what we look at is when looking at their objectives and how they're measuring success and contribution to growth, what we want to do is come to the table with areas that we can help them achieve that. We do that in 3 ways. First off, quite simply, it's our commitment to the marketplace. Allstream only focuses on providing technology solutions to businesses across Canada. And really, it's not only in the technology we're providing, but it's the customer experience, something a lot of businesses would acknowledge. This industry is not known for customer service, and we've been committed to changing that. We think we're setting the standard moving forward.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been reading a lot of some great advertising on the Allstream service guarantee, because that's, I mean, ease of getting service from your providers is something you just pointed out is a point of contention for a lot of small business. So tell us about the Allstream service guarantee.
Yeah, thanks for asking. We're very proud of it. It's something that we really started to ask our customers, what are the things that you worry about most? And there was 3 recurring themes. It's when they buy a service, it's the quality of the delivery of that service, the billing accuracy, and ultimately it's a service issue. How do you deal with it? So what we did is we structured a service guarantee around that. It's really made up of 5 areas. We're going to every service you buy from Allstream, provide you with a dedicated order manager, and more importantly, we're going to guarantee the due date that we install that service on so you can plan your business around it. On top of that, we will always do a first bill walkthrough. It's important to show that the service we designed for you and that you contracted to and the first bill are all accurate, and we want to make you comfortable with that. Finally, if there's any service issue, we will dedicate a single point of contact as a service resolution expert, and they will own that through to resolution with your acceptance. And then finally, if there's anything we should always expect from our partners is we want to give you the opportunity to speak to a customer of ours to understand what you can expect by dealing with Allstream moving forward in the relationship.
That's great, Mark. Now, the ultimate question we need to pose to you, how does one get more information on Allstream, and how can they get connected so that they can do some business?
Great. Well, for the Tri-City customers, we have a local number, 519-340-0430. And for customers outside of that area, please feel free to call our toll-free number, 855-299-7050.
Good luck with things, and by the way, if I don't speak to you, have a wonderful Christmas.
You too. Thanks very much.
All right, Mark Ibbotson of Allstream, and our next guest, let's get right to it now. Andrea Stebbings is joining us now from the Cambridge Downtown Business Improvement Area.
Andrea, Greg DeRocher, sorry about the number issue.
How you doing, Greg? No problem. I'm glad I got through.
I'm doing very well. And what we want to do is we only got time for really one question, but I think this is the important question for you. But we want to have you back as well in a couple of weeks, and we'll get more into details to what's going on in the downtown from a retail perspective. But the really important thing right now, because Ian and I have talked about a lot about the customer experience and how do you draw people down to the downtown core to do their Christmas shopping, what's going on in downtown Cambridge this Christmas season?
Well, probably coming up, I'd have to point out for this Christmas season, starting on December 6th, we certainly have our membership get-together, but on December 7th and December 8th, we're partnering with the city's Christmas in Cambridge market as well as our own downtown open house. And of course, that provides, activities such as horse-drawn carriage. We have the trolley rides for the children. We have arts and crafts. We have Visit Santa Claus. And between the Cambridge Market on Friday night and the open houses, we probably have close to 100 businesses in town where you can come down and shop and spend your evening in town, and certainly all day Saturday as well for the one-on-one service that people like to have nowadays.
I think that's the important part. And Ian and I talked a lot about it, how important it is to attract those shoppers down to the core. Andrea, we want to have you back when it's a little closer to Christmas so that we can talk about actually the retail trends and what's happening and how exciting it's been in the downtown core. So thanks for calling.
Okay, very good. You take care and have a great Christmas.
Right, bye-bye, Andrea. That's Andrea Stebbings of the Cambridge Downtown Business Improvement Association. You've been listening to Business, powered by Allstream on 570 News. We're going to be back with another live show in a couple of weeks. I'm sure we'll talk more about retail and closing. A couple of quick.
Just quickly, we've got our business after 5 Christmas edition. It's the biggest one of the year for the BIA or for our chamber, and that's Wednesday at December 5th at the Embassy Room. So everyone should come on.
And our Christmas business after hours is actually tomorrow night at the new Seniors Center down across from Ridge Hill Ford in Cambridge on 24 Highway.
Right. Our thanks to Catherine Drake and Liz Russell for producing the show today. Thank you for listening to Business on 570 News.